August 25th, 2023. That's the day that Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon lands on PS4, PS5, the Xbox series of consoles, and PC via Steam. And the world is surely going to change as a result. If that's all you wanted to know, feel free to head out now, but consider leaving a like and a sub before you go. If you want to get a full breakdown of this trailer and what we can glean from it, though, watch on. Hello everyone, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. If you enjoy what I do and want to see more Armored Core content or other content of mine in general, please subscribe. I'm a small-time creator, but this is my full-time job nonetheless. So, I need your help to grow in the screaming maelstrom that is YouTube. Thank you. The gameplay/release date reveal trailer for Armored Core 6 is insane, packed with a ton of gameplay clips and in-game cutscenes that provide us with plenty of insight into what we can expect to encounter on Rubicon. From environments to weapons to enemy types and equipable parts, as well as some story hints, it's a great trailer. If you haven't watched it yet, link is in the description. I highly recommend that you check it out if you haven't. The thing is just absolutely wild. It's cracked. The PlayStation blog has also released an accompanying article that goes into more detail about some of the things we've learned here, so I'll be weaving that info into the breakdown as well. That article can also be found in the description if you want to read it for yourself. Sorry for the long intro, we're starting now. We start with the sweeping entrance of a ship on approach to Rubicon. We learn three things in quick succession here. Assuming that this is the ship that our player character enters on, we are referred to as quote-unquote the dog, and while this could just be the captain being rude, our pilot is also referred to as a hound of the handler Walter later on, so there's something more here. We then hear of said handler, and it's unclear if this is an operator like we've seen in past games, or some sort of controlling AI presence, or maybe even a mercenary company we work for. It's not super clear. We then immediately learn that there are, quote, cerebral coral control devices, unquote, one of which is being activated now. Given that we're now aware that Coral is the name of the energy source that burned Rubicon in the past, a clear successor to the Kojima particles of Armored Core 4 and 5, I'm thinking this is either a system that allows a pilot mental control over a core, or it's a system that allows the handler to control the pilot. I'm kinda currently leaning towards the latter, but we'll have to see. We then cut through a series of environmental shots, a sprawling industrial mega complex, a frigid wind farm, an underground mining facility, an aerial shot of what may be a factory or colony, and then an interior shot of a massive generator that may be in the same location, before finally cutting to a launch facility nestled under the burning skies of Rubicon. In the words of game director Yamamura, it's an intricate and multi-layered world, brimming with megastructures and enormous underground facilities built by its former inhabitants. These structures cover a planetary surface racked with extreme cold and contamination in the aftermath of the Great Disaster, and the player will be exploring these various environments as they proceed, quote unquote. Seeing some of them now, yeah, these are going to be incredible to traverse in a core. We also learn that we apparently are an augmented human. What exactly that means beyond the implication that we've been modified with Coral is unclear, but it immediately brings to mind the Human Plus and Op Intensify programs from past Armored Core titles. For newcomers, these were programs that cybernetically enhanced humans to increase their capabilities with the core, allowing them to break the normal rules of core construction and often physics itself, but compromising their humanity in the process. It was a dangerous and relatively elite measure to take in the past, but it might be a much more common practice here in Fires of Rubicon. Finally, we get to gameplay. High-speed aerial shots dodging laser fire, flanking a lumbering arms fort-sized construct as it trundles along the surface, navigating what appears to be the same snowy, turret-laced battlefield we saw in the reveal trailer, and fighting a number of cores and mechs inside the underground mega complex, including a quad leg with a heavy metal shield. We also get a quick shot of a scan pulse that reaches out and tags enemy mechs on the HUD, information the player uses when they launch their core into the air and use their hover quad legs to rain death from above. I imagine this is a result of the visor we snap into place over the mascot core's eyes in the initial reveal trailer, something that I theorized about back then as well. Here's where I want to highlight some info from the PlayStation blog that I think we're seeing in action here. Taking a look back at that quad leg in the underground facility, the player's ranged shots are blocked by its physical shield, and it then retaliates with missile fire back at us, which we attempt to block with an energy shield. It seems like that fails, as the missiles then make impact with our core, and in response, we use what Yamamura calls an assault boost to close the gap into melee. The assault boost is a boost that can be activated at the push of a button, which allows you to quickly transition from range to melee to put the pressure on your enemy, which is exactly what we see happening here. Our core lashes out with a pulse blade and appears to sever the quad leg's shield before firing a cluster missile attack at it to destroy it. I think that this is the new stagger mechanic at play, something that was highlighted in the PlayStation blog. It's a mechanic that's new to Armored Core 6 and is clearly inspired by various critical mechanics of the Soul series, and involves units now having a stagger meter that can be depleted by receiving consecutive small hits or single huge blows. Once depleted, an enemy will be made quote-unquote vulnerable, and it's unclear if that just means you can unload on them freely, or if you'll get a critical strike chance a la something like Sekiro and Elden Ring. We'll have to see. Yamamura also commented on the speed of the game, stating that the balance of speed rests somewhere between that of Armored Core 3 and Armored Core 5, but with in-combat speed bursts and tempo changes that can often reach the speeds of Armored Core 4, which were far, far faster than 3 and 5. Given that I'm a massive fan of the Armored Core 3 series of games, that has me slightly worried, making me think that it'll get too fast at times, but all the gameplay that we've seen here does really look right up my alley, so we'll have to see. Returning to the trailer, there's some wild shots of this Star Wars droidica-looking mech that unfolds and launches an absolute barrage of missiles, or possibly even a volley of pellets, claymore or shotgun style. Not super clear. And while it's cool, it doesn't last long against its opponent core, who appears to again stagger it before speeding in to finish it with some sort of powered kick. Not sure what this is, whether it's just some sort of stagger-enabled finishing move or a trait of the specific leg parts the core has equipped, but either way, I'm definitely intrigued, if nothing else. There's more footage of the snowy battlefield where a tank leg core powers through a swarm of enemies using micro-missiles, followed by a duel between what I assume is the player and a boss. The player is using a flamethrower that appears woefully outmatched compared to the leaping electrified whip attack that the boss uses. Note too that Yamamura has confirmed that proper FromSoft-style bosses as we know them from the Souls series will be present in the game, beyond just the standard Armored Core duels of the series past. He highlighted battles against giant combat choppers, mining gear, turrets, etc., so I'm excited to see what nonsense we wind up having to contend with. Speaking of which, it's short, but we do see a battle against some sort of blocky mechanical sandworm that appears to have mining drill bits for a face, so yeah, again, gonna be some wild stuff that we wind up facing out there. Finally, the combat section ends with our core unleashing the same Primal Armor-esque electrical field that it used in the reveal trailer. The last segment of the trailer shows off more combat, including what appears to be a boss fight alongside an AI-controlled allied core, a battle versus a tank that appears to be using choral energy based on the dialogue in the battle, and an absolutely insane-looking flying core with rings of missile launchers that snap into place around it before launching a gigantic volley at the player. And then another giant industrial robot. A little less spectacle there. But the real highlight is our apparent call sign, Raven. Ravens were the original pilots of cores in the days of the first 3 games and their spin-offs, culminating in Armored Core: The Last Raven. Since then, we've seen less and less focus on them, replaced by next pilots in Armored Core 4 and 4 Answer, and hardly being mentioned at all in Armored Core 5 and Verdict Day. So, a reference to them here is very exciting indeed. A little bit of a return to form, which I'm always happy about. This goes doubly so as this quote-unquote Raven appears to be a wanted individual with a great legacy. Using the same name puts us high on a kill list of an unknown enemy pilot. We're accused of hiding behind the name by the pilot of the Ring Corps, and an unknown narrator muses about us, wondering how long we can fly on borrowed wings, quote-unquote. What this means for the story and who the real Raven is remains to be seen, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out that they're maybe the individual that was responsible for, or at least involved in, the disaster that spread fire across the stars in the game's past. It's possible they could even be this game's iteration of Nineball, the resident lunatic AI that serves as the antagonist or secret boss of many of the games in the past. I can't wait to see, regardless. A reference to Ravens. They're bringing it all back around, man. I'm so happy about it. And while that's it for the trailer, there's a few more juicy tidbits of info that we can glean from the interview with Mr. Yamamura. First off, weapons. Cores will once again have 4 slots for weaponry, 1 in either hand and 2 on the back. However, a new change is an increased focus on melee weapons, which is perhaps unsurprising, given that Yamamura is the director of Sekiro. These weapons will all be held in the left hand and can include anything from, quote, a cluster bomb thrower, a chainsaw or pulse blade, lances, and other more idiosyncratic weapons, unquote, with Yamamura stating that melee weapons are meant to have a stronger individual identity than their ranged counterparts. The arena returns as well, which is a classic of the series. The arena is a series of battles against wild, custom-built ACs that allows you to rise through the ranks and test your builds against AI opponents. It's known now as the Combat Aptitude Evaluation Program, and it's noted that while these opponents are just simulations, you can wind up encountering the originals who made the simulations out on the battlefield. So, fighting through the arena to hone your skills will help you be prepared if you wind up encountering them somewhere during the course of the story. Speaking of the story, we've got multiple endings. It is confirmed. In what is now FromSoft tradition, it has been confirmed that there are multiple endings available to the player, with apparently even more story paths unlocking to explore after you clear the game once. So, much like with Elden Ring, that I need to replay like 6 times if I want to see all the endings, which I'm cool with because Elden Ring's freaking awesome, it seems like there's going to be some good replay value here, and I'm curious to see how those different endings come into play. Are we going to be seeing factions, covenants, story choices, things that occur just because of the way we handle missions, and that story goes in different directions as a result? I don't know, but I mean, I'm definitely excited to see. And finally, the Steam store page has been updated, showing that Armored Core 6 does have both single-player and online co-op modes. What exactly this entails remains to be seen, but I hope with all of my heart that the story of Armored Core 6 can be played with a friend, much like the games in the Souls series. Taking on the battlefields of Rubicon with a friend or two would be a dream come true in a game like this. Imagine the giant mecha fights with you and 2 of your buddies in your custom-built cores, being able to fight off giant monsters and ancient equipment and other cores, and just, oh my god, it would be so cool, dude. I can only hope that that'll be the case. We'll have to see, of course. With the game coming out soon, hopefully we'll get more information very shortly, but God, I hope that that winds up being the case. And that's all the info that I've been able to glean from this new trailer and the accompanying interview with director Yamamura. I hope you found it interesting. If you did, please leave a like on the video. Also, if there are other details that I missed, or that you feel I misinterpreted, let's start a conversation about it in the comments. I'd love to see what y'all think about all this, because there is so much jammed in here. August, man. Can't believe it. August 25th. It's coming real fast. That's all for me, though. My name has been Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. I hope you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there. And remember, be good to each other. Bye now.